All right.
Ooh.
Hey y'all. What up, what up, what up, everybody? I am the Mademoiselle, and this is my channel, and welcome to Civil Discord. I have my good friend with me, Isabella, and we are going to give you guys some very, very good advice on what to do if you live in a toxic household. This is something that you guys really write to me about on a very consistent basis. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna bring some people on here consistently sometimes, to talk about this because I have a lot of friends that work in the social work or the psychological field. And I was like, you know what? This is something that I know a lot of you guys can definitely benefit from. So, just a couple of things. These are very, very, how do I explain it? This is going to be hard for a lot of you guys. We're going to talk and touch on a lot of things that I know a lot of you guys are probably either A, not going to agree with, B, not going to do, C, not going to listen to, D, like,
The
it's going to be
list goes on and on.
yeah, like a lot of people are most likely gonna, try to sit there and either make excuses or, say things of, I don't want to get my family in trouble, blah, blah, blah. But you need to understand that you have to put yourself first. And if you are in a legitimate toxic household and you are being harmed, you as a child, regardless if you're legal or not, have the rights. Okay, you have rights. You have to be able to stand up for yourself, regardless of whoever it is, if you are legitimately being hurt. And I have to also say that you being upset because your mom didn't let you go to a concert, or you literally being like told what to do because you really are like being defiant, is not considered being in a toxic household. Okay, if you're being legitimately disciplined, that's not toxic. Like, we're talking about people
Right.
that are in danger, people that are legitimately having legitimate issues in their households. Please do not come with your frivolous, legitimately asinine comments on here regarding your parents that are toxic, because that's not what we're talking about. And you're literally undermining people with legitimate issues. We're talking about legit shit here. So I'm just gonna allow Ismella to introduce herself, and then yeah, we'll just go on with the program. So, Izzy.
Hello. Hi. Yes. So my name is Ismella, but I go by Izzy for short. I am currently working in the mental health field. So a little background: I do have my bachelor's in criminal justice and my master's as well. We're currently working on my second one in clinical mental health. Um. Oh. Okay.
There you go. There you go.
Oh. Yeah, so I have been working in this field for over 7+ years. I've been working with kids who are in and out of detention centers, kids who are in and out of hospitals, um, and things along those lines. So,
Mhm. Okay, so very important question. Why did you decide to go into this field? Now, I just realized I left my iPad. I'm gonna go grab it real quick. So, you talk to the people. Why did you decide to go into this field? And most importantly, what is your favorite part about like your job?
okay. So I chose to go into this field because growing up in a Caribbean household myself, I felt like I didn't really have a voice, especially when it came to mental health. Things that, now that I'm older would realize is my trauma. I didn't really realize it as much. And if I didn't have that one mentor that actually motivated me and pushed me to deal with my issues and deal with my problems, I wouldn't really be where I'm at today. And I kind of wanted to be that for a lot of children. Because 9 times out of 10, sometimes they feel like they're not being heard, or people won't believe them, or people won't listen to them. And, also growing up in the neighborhood that I did, I kind of wanted to show the kids that there's more to life than just, being in the streets or being scared, and letting them know, like, you can apply yourself and there are people out there that believe you and that can help you. And, you can always be successful with whatever it is that you want to be successful in as long as you have that drive.
Definitely. That was so nice. I already knew all of that, but of course, you had to say that for the people. So of course, many of you guys already know me. It's so funny. No matter how much I try to get away from working with kids, now that I love children. That's something I always have. I love kids, but it's like
Right.
I try not to work with kids because it makes me really sad because I'm like a magnet for
It does
children.
feel
Like
sad
I've always
sometimes.
yeah, I'm like the children magnet. I'm like the oh my God, Ivana, my kid won't eat. Can you come? Oh my God, Ivana, my kid won't do her hair. Can you do it? Oh my God, Ivana, she won't let me clean her hair. It's like I'm the kid whisperer. So it's like no matter what I do, somehow, some way, I'm always integrated and pulled into kids. Like, look at my channel. I'm doing kids' reactions regarding like toxic parents. It's like nowhere weird. Like, I really want it to go, but it's like, it's just no matter what it is, no matter what I try to do, I'm always pulled in that direction. And it's like I have a very soft spot for children. Like, it really makes me very upset when people like abuse them or take advantage of them. A lot of people treat their kids like property. So I guess I kind of become like a child advocate of some sort, because it's like, no. I especially Caribbean parents, Haitian parents, we both know, we both they act like their kids owe them. They act like, they're entitled to something. They act like, we're entitled. They're entitled. Yeah, I literally just got into it with my parents just now, and it's crazy. I've always had like this mission. My parents aren't toxic. They're irresponsible. But as I'm getting older, I'm realizing, oh my God, no, my parents are actually toxic. And it's paining me to say, like, I love them to death. And we're real cool. Like, we have a really great relationship. But it's like a lot of their tendencies are ridiculously toxic, and I realize a lot of their tendencies that they've done, a lot of things that they've done, it's like, oh, child. Like, it's now affecting me as an adult, and I'm like,
my feedback to toxicity is an understatement.
Your parents are probably a different type of breed. So, of course, let's see, how do we know each other again? Okay, doctor's office. Yes, that's how we know each other.
Yeah.
So you guys know I've been a very toxic doctor's office for years. I left there. Oops.
It's a fun toxic place. Let's put it like that. It's interesting.
So this is not some girl I picked off the street, okay? This is not somebody that just hit me up and want to be on my channel. We know each other pretty well. So of course we should go to talk about different types of toxic parents. Okay, so for those of you who are not sure, because I know a lot of people end up being in denial. Like, I feel like I was definitely in denial before. Now I'm like, okay, yeah, they a little bit toxic. I feel like my parents never beat the shit out of me. My parents never did like the typical Haitian parent things. But
shoot, mine did.
Yeah, oh yeah, of course. But I feel like looking at it now, I'm like, oh nah, they got toxic. And so of course there is mental, there's emotional, there's physical, there's sexual, and then I'm sure there's things in between. So you can go ahead, Isabella, take it away and explain.
Yeah, so there are different types of toxic parents. So definitely mental can be a parent who has their own mental issues that's portraying it onto their child that haven't fully dealt with their trauma, with their trauma growing up, and it kind of just, flowed into when they have kids. It can be parents who are struggling with, schizophrenia, anxiety, depression, things along those lines, which it can kind of tie into emotional as well, because it can show like the emotional and mental abuse that is portrayed onto a child. So if you have a mother that's constantly, or a father, whatever guardian, that is sitting here that's constantly like, belittling you, telling you that you're not pretty enough, or that you're ugly, or that, you're never going to be nothing, or that you're this, you're that, like basically just attacking you all in all, emotionally and mentally, that counts as abuse in any form. And then, of course, you have the physical abuse, which also ties into sexual abuse. That's also one of the toxic traits that can be brought into a family. And this can either be by a family, again, who haven't dealt with their trauma. If it happened to them, they never truly really processed it. And to them, it's like, okay, well, it's a chain behavior. So if it's done to them, they do it to you. It goes on and on and on as a cycle. I'm not saying that it's okay, of course, but these are the possibilities of things that can happen when it comes to living in a toxic household. And another form, even with the mental and physical altercations, the beatings and stuff like that. To me, there's a difference between discipline and a difference between physical abuse. You can discipline your child without having to forcefully put your hands on them to an extent. Because a lot of these kids that I see will come out with like black eyes and got marks all over their bodies and stuff like that. That's, yeah, it's way too much for it to be considered discipline. And these behaviors by parents can be due to substance use. It can be because they're
Yeah.
drunk off of alcohol or high off of any type of substances, illegal substances like that. So it's a lot of different factors that boil down to it. Or again, they could be in a domestic violence situation, and again, those pain and suffering that they are feeling can be portrayed on you as a child. So there's a lot of different factors in it.
So thank you so much for explaining. Now, question: if someone, because this is what really happened to me, and I want to know what this would be categorized. If parents are constantly taking your money on like kind of like abusing that power, what would that fall under?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. You're going in and out.
Oh, someone taking your like parents taking your money consistently, like, oh, you work and I take your bread.
Oh, so that easily can fall under mental or emotional because it's manipulation. So they're manipulating you into giving them your money, like, oh, you live under my house, under my rules. So whatever you make comes to me, type of thing. And this can also be a form of extortion, believe it or not. Even though you're kids, again, you still have rights to your money. So don't let them tell you otherwise.
Okay, perfect. Because I feel like a lot of people usually write to me about that. That's something I went through, and that's what caused me to move out. I would have been a traditional Haitian woman living in my house until I was 58. I was like, nah, go until you're married. That's how the Caribbean household is. Stay home until you're married. It wasn't for that, you know? So,
Yeah.
makes perfect sense.
That's
So,
what they need to remember when it comes to the money piece. Like once you get older, especially if you're still living under your parents' household, again, you're an adult. They're an adult. You don't have to take you don't have to take care of them. You don't owe them anything. So again, like I said, a lot of the times parents like to put the stigma of I raised you, I brought you into this world. I put a roof over your head, I put clothes on your back. So it's like, but you need to remember the kid didn't ask to be to be brought into this world. You did it. You conceived this child.
yeah,
So
that really bothers me. That mentality, I feel like really stops like kids from really exercising their rights or really even like standing up for themselves. Feel like, oh, I owe my parents because they gave me life, So if they say something to me, if they do something to me, I should just suck it up because they brought me here. And it's like, no, that's toxic. That's horrible. That's wrong. And what happened is when you have kids, you're gonna do and perpetuate the same thing, and that's not how it should be. Like
it's not.
I really be sitting there like seeing and seeing things. I just be like, why? Just why? Like even when I go to like Walmart, I'll go to the corner store. I'll just be walking outside and I see people yanking, pulling their kids around, cursing their kids out, saying this, that, and the third. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, you are literally raising the next generation of like shit. People that's about to take care of me. Hell the fuck no. Like no, it's just so sad.
Exactly. And kids have
And
rights. Like when you
yeah,
have
they
a
do.
kid, like it's you like when you have a kid, it's your obligation to make sure that that kid has a roof over their head and that they're properly fed and that they have proper clothing because the state can step in and assist where need be. And worst comes to worst, they can remove your child for not providing your child with those needs because it would be considered neglect and abuse.
Very true. So, of course, that goes into the point of this video. So, I guess we can go into the question of the day. The reason you guys clicked. What are the rights that kids have? So there's abundance of them. So I guess we can just go crazy. Go ahead.
So yeah, regardless if a kid is at home or if a kid is in a program, they do have rights. Even if they're in foster care, they have rights. And if ever at any point in time that they're not feeling safe at home and stuff like that, they can always, you know, find other alternatives. They can call the hotline. Now, the hotline is basically the Department of Youth and Family Services in whichever state you're in. And with that hotline, you can make anonymous. You don't have to say your name if you feel like more harm will come your way. If you do report the abuse that's going on, um, you can always call them and let them know what's going on and the situation, and they can have an investigator come out and kind of assess the situation and stuff like that, and talk to the family and talk to the kids. And if it's something that's immediate, where you are in immediate danger and stuff like that, then they can always reach out to 911 to come out to the home. So you also have that. And again, as kids, your parents are obligated to make sure that you do have a roof over your head, and that you are being properly fed, and that you do have clothes and stuff like that. Your education, everything ties into that. So if ever a point in time that your parents aren't providing those needs for you, you can also call that in, because that's a sign of neglect. These are things, again, like I said, you don't have, like, I'm not saying that you don't have to take care of your parents when you get older. Again, it's entirely up to you. It's your decision. But you're not obligated. You don't owe them a thing. You know, they conceived you, they brought you into this world, so they took on that responsibility of making sure that you will be well taken care of. And again, in the event that you don't want to go back home, and you feel like if you were to make a call and it won't go through, or whatever the case may be, when you go to school, you can always reach out to your guidance counselors. They can set you up with a worker that's at the school. Each school should have a mental health department where you do have social workers, you do have therapists and clinicians that you can talk to. And you can bring it up to them, and they can also help you. Even if you have a mentor, a youth advocate, things along those lines, there's always people that can help you. There are community outreach programs that can help you as a child. Again, you have the support that you need within the field and within the people that are surrounded by you. You just don't have to be afraid to say something. You know what I mean? Again, use your resources. If you feel like if you feel like you're unsafe, if you feel like your parents are putting you in a situation, if you feel like it's something that is not right, cold-heartedly, please, 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 I cannot stress this enough, reach out and get the help that you need.
All right. So there's people that are like, there's been kids that's reached out and, it's gotten worse, or, the parents retaliate. Do you have any advice for that part?
Whew, yes, because I was one of those kids.
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming. Honestly, I would say, don't be scared of the retaliation, because your parents will get what's coming to them, and not in a bad way. Of course, I'm not making it sound like a threat or anything like that. It's just more so, don't be afraid to speak up and say something. You have people in your corner that can help you. And if you feel like you need that support, we all have one of our closest friends, again, like Ivana was mine. So you can also have them with you. And like I said, with the hotline, you can make it anonymous. You don't have to tell them it's you that's making that call. You can protect yourself. You can protect your identity when making these calls and when reporting these families.
Yeah, I feel like I know a couple, including you. Like, I know a couple people that have called DYFS, and they're both fine. But I know a very token few where it's gotten worse. But that's mainly, first of all, this is the thing, right? Parents use their authority to scare their children. Mm-hmm. That's one. So when you are ready to report things, you don't do it right. One. So then you're like, hey, my name is Casey. I'm from Connecticut and I live on street. And it's like, woo, child. Like, no, you gotta be like, hello, I'm reporting as an anonymous person. There's going on at There's 3 kids in there and they living in a studio and that's not legal. And I don't think those kids eat. Like, you gotta really be like very discreet and act like you're not you. So that's one. Like, I feel like it gets to the point where you're like so crippled with fear that it's like, there's a way to do it. And even if you can't do it, clearly, I would hope, because everyone has different types of, situations. Make your friend do it. Make a cousin, make someone else do it if you really can't do it yourself. Because I was that friend. I ain't give no fucks. Okay, listen, let your mom come beat me. What's that gonna be? What's good? What's up? Like I was that friend. So it's like, you have to be able to do something, because the whole sitting there not doing anything until you turn 18. To be honest, there's some parents that are really that bad that by the time you turn 18, you're gonna be dead, or just to the point where you're like so mentally controlled that you're not going to do shit. And then you're gonna be there till you're 30, going, wow, it's born outside. Going through way worse. You know? So it's like it's really really sad. I'm looking at the chat real quick. We aren't no, and that's I wasn't allowed to go to college. If you were 18, okay, you can go to college. You know why? Because you're an adult. You can sign your papers. Just get the fuck out. Now I know it's Mellow. You were one of those people that wasn't able to go to college because you were 17. So if you're in that special situation where you're like 17 by the time you start college, then you just gonna be asked out. You just have to miss that 1 year, to be honest.
Yeah, I have to be creative with that one.
Yeah, if you're 18, sign your papers and leave. No one. That's the thing. You need to understand and like all your laws and all your rights after you turn 18. When you're 18 in the United States anyway, you're an adult. That's it. You're an adult. Exercise your adult rights and don't give me the malarkey about money and all that. No. The resources, there's a lot of things that you can do. If you can sign your papers, you can leave that house, especially when it comes to college, because there are campuses and stuff like that. Sign your papers and do. They can't tell you shit. Okay, they'll get if they really truly love you and they're not that bad, depending on how toxic they are, they'll get over it. Okay, they'll get over it. If not, oh well.
Yeah, mine got over it. They didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, you know, I'm shocked with them. Shocked that they got over it because your parents and child, your parents are really toxic.
Okay.
Your parents are definitely top 5. Your parents definitely top 5. I know a lot of toxic parents. Like I have one friend who her parents beat her with an iron. Yeah, they broke her one time, and she still continues to live there. And I'm just confused. Like I don't know. At this point, child, I just be sitting there like, I don't want to yell at you, but why the fuck you still live? I just be so confused. Like, why do you still live there? Why? Just why? And understand that when you take a stand, right? And I tell this to my friends, everybody. It's like, you know, people get so scared of the repercussions, right? Of like standing up for yourself and, you know, whatever. They're like, oh, you know, they're gonna retaliate, they're gonna yell, okay. So you think that when you stand up for yourself, people are gonna be like, okay, I'm so happy you stood up to me. Let's be real.
Right, there are
of course people are gonna
standing up for yourself.
Right, they're gonna be mad. Duh, they're gonna yell. It's gonna be a scene. It's gonna be a problem. And sadly, yes, a lot of people don't like confrontation. A lot of people don't like all riffraff, but the payoff of it is 10 times more rewarding than staying in a situation where you're constantly upset, you're constantly tired, you're constantly depressed, you're not going anywhere, you're not growing, you're not progressing. You can't just sit there, bitch, cry, and complain and do absolutely nothing, especially when it comes to the point where you're able to do something. You're a kid, it's kind of like you're a little bit limited, but you do have rights. And that's the whole point of this video. Like, you do have rights. But when it comes to the point where you're an adult, it's even worse. It's like you have the rights, and then you are an adult. You can move about freely. Unless you're legitimately in chains, it's like, no. Like, people are going to yell. They're going to be upset. They're going to curse you out.
They will.
At that point, it's sticks and stones. Like, at that point, it's like, okay, like, you're mad and you're scared of people yelling at you. If you really have toxic parents, let's be legit here, they're gonna yell at you regardless. Like, they've been yelling at you all your life. So at this point, it's just part of the battle. Like, they're gonna keep yelling at you, whether you stay in the house, whether you leave the house, whether you win the freaking election and you become the next president. They're always gonna yell at you. You know, everything you do is wrong. Everything you do, whether you did everything right before that, is wrong. So, you know, it's one of those things where you just have to do it or you don't do it, because damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because that's how toxic parents are. They see everything as, oh, well, you didn't do this for me, you didn't do that for me, even though you've done shit. And when you start doing things for yourself, you're going to be even more upset. But if your parents really do love and care about you, they'll do it. You know, that's really what it is.
They're grand manipulators, okay?
Yep, let them play victim, let them yell at you, let them be upset, who cares? That's part of their problem. That's part of their growth. That's part of their progress that they have to deal with themselves. There's nothing that you can legitimately do for that. Like, the thing is, you know, just like what you said in the beginning, is like, most of those people, like, most of those toxic people, for the most part, are suffering through something internally in their head or whatever else. So, for the most part, you can't do nothing for them. Like, they're toxic. Like, you know, they're going through something much greater. So, at that point, what do you can't do shit for them. You know, they're toxic.
Right.
You know, they're toxic. There's nothing you can do about it. So it comes to the point where you have to say, hey, I'm going to be part of this or I'm not going to be part of this. Either you're going to be somebody's punching bag or you're not. And these parents, they take advantage of that. They'll literally sit there and they'll use you, they'll abuse you, they'll punch you and punch you and punch you. And then as soon as you say something, oh, I'm your mother. How dare you? Oh my God. Oh, I'm your father. I brought you to this world. Oh my gosh. I just be
And
sitting
as
there
a
like,
kid, if you also end up in the emergency room, God forbid you get injured and you end up in an emergency room, if you tell the doctor you do not want to go home to your parents, they will not release you. They cannot
yeah,
release you because you're telling them
yeah,
that you do
yeah.
not feel safe with this person. You do not feel safe wanting to go with them. They will have the police come and they will put you in an assessment center, or they'll have you stay there or give you an open bed until you can figure out until they can figure out a way, again, getting the department involved on what further steps to take. So if you physically say I do not want to go with them and they can physically see why, oh honey, you ain't going nowhere.
No, very true. Very true. Like I know a lot of people, would be like, their parents in trouble, especially in that aspect. And it's like, to be honest, that's manipulation talking. That's really what it is. And that would tell me that you're not part of this type of situation in terms of getting beat the shit up. Like that would be like, I think that would be like a very serious case. Like if you're in the hospital, if your parent beat you to the point where you're in the hospital, I don't think anyone would want to go back home. That would be very, yeah, at that point, they would definitely have to be manipulating the hell out of you and, trying to like really, screw up an egg. And it's just so sad. Like I've had friends that their parents definitely put them in the hospital and then they ended up having to go foster care. I mean, they didn't have bad stories though. They were fine after they were foster care.
Yeah.
And it's just so sad because a lot of these parents will really sit there and be like, oh, if you say something, I'm a da-da-da. Like they'll really like, oh, I'm a
Yeah,
this,
I
I'm a
gave you a
that.
raise and a call. If I brought you in this world, I could take you out. And
Right. It's
really,
like, what? I just be sitting there like, do
take
you
me
know how I'm down
out.
right now? Like, yeah, take me out there. Like, wait till I'm old enough
Right.
to stop. My parents would never say that to me. My parents never laid a finger on me, thank God. But like, I've heard so many stories. I've seen my friends go through a lot of stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, I can never. Like, this is just really, really sad, and it just doesn't really make any sense to me how people just sit there and abuse their kids or use their kids as punching bags just because they aren't mentally stable or whatever, because for the most part, you should be able to get some help. Or if you don't want a kid, don't have them.
Again, you should
It's
realize
very
too, it's a trained behavior because it could be something that happened to them, how they were raised, and they probably didn't see anything wrong with it, so they project that on their own family as well. So, perfect example, if a father, growing up, his father was always cheating around, beating the wife and stuff like that. And, he got the respect that he wanted because the girl was scared, obviously, on our end. But if that little boy grew up seeing that, then best believe when he grows up, it's a chain reaction. It's a trained behavior. When he grows up, that's how he's going to start treating women. A lot of the times you'll hear boys say, oh, I would never, treat my girl the way my dad treated my mom, or I would never this, I would never that. But the reality of it
yep,
is, 9 times out of 10, it's gonna happen, and they're gonna beat themselves up for it because they let it happen. Because these are
yep,
things that they're saying that they're not gonna do, but it's kind of hard because it's something that you've been around your whole life.
yep.
So,
It usually goes one way or the other. I've seen people, they're like, oh, my dad left me, so I'm gonna be there for my kid, and usually they are. Sometimes it's the complete opposite. It's like, yep, my dad's a deadbeat, so I'm a deadbeat. And it's like, sheesh, you would think that someone would want to do better. But it makes so much sense because if you're constantly around something, your dad beat your mom or whatever issue it is, you're most likely going to inherit it. My parents had horrible money issues. I had horrible money issues for a very long time. Like I was horrible at money management for such a long time because my parents were horrible with money. I'm talking about constant evictions, living without electricity constantly, living without gas constantly, all types of shit. So it's just like I'm now learning how to manage my money effectively. And it's so sad because I never noticed how bad that affected me. And it's like no matter how hard I tried, I would always just blow my money on nonsense. So it's like certain things that, people love to be like, oh, oh, that mindset just says that you can never escape where you can. It's not a mindset. It's just blatant common sense. That's what you grew up as. And those are the critical times of your life. When you're a child, when you're a baby, when you're a toddler, those are all of those critical moments of your life. Your environment, whoever's raising you, the friends, whoever's watching you, whatever it is, those people are very, very pinnacle. If your parents are doing fuck shit, if your parents are putting you in constant situations, those are the situations and habits that you're gonna pick up in your life. So it is what it is. I hate to say it, but some people just shouldn't be fucking parents. If you have violent tendencies, if you have bad tendencies, if you have bad habits, it's going to reflect on your kids. So that's just what it is. And I'm just saying, I have to keep you in the chat, and you guys are like really like making me sad. I feel really bad for you guys. I really hope it's better for a lot of you guys. And I hope a lot of you guys, I haven't seen a lot of pages. I really hope you guys are really getting help and are able to get out of your toxic situation very soon, because the chat is really sad. It really, really, really is. Wow, this is really depressing. These parents, I just can't. And if there's any parents that happen to be in here right now or watch this later, toxic parents specifically, recognize that you're toxic and please get some psychological help. Because mental health is very, very important, and I guarantee you it gets worse. It gets way, way worse. So, Ismello, we should get into the mental illness part of this. So, take it away.
Yeah, so the thing about mental health is sometimes we might dismiss it because we don't really see the warning signs of it, right? The littlest things that we would say, oh, that's regular, or you're over exaggerating, oh, you're this, you're that, to be honest, can be mental health. And I cannot stress it enough. Anxiety, ADHD, depression, like all of those diagnoses are something that is truly important that could affect you and will affect you when you get older. And I'm saying that with the utmost respect, because even with me at my age right now, I'm 26, I still struggle with anxiety and depression. Even though I'm in the field and stuff like that, I still struggle with it myself. Mental health is important. Your mental health is important. And I would understand if you may feel like you're lost, or you may feel like you don't have anybody, or people might not understand, but there are people out there that understand. And to be honest, people cannot help you unless you speak up and say something. And even for those that aren't verbal with it, even paying attention to warning signs. There are warning signs that you can pay attention to if there's a change in behavior, if there's a change in, a person's attitude or how they handle things, how they're dressing, like the littlest, slightest change can literally tell you what's going on with a person. And people don't realize that, which is why they say pay attention to body language, pay attention to different things. If you're a friend to someone, pay attention to them, check on them, ask them like, how's your day going? How are you feeling? How is everything okay? Sometimes just them knowing that someone cares enough to reach out to them and to check on them, it will make their world 10 times better. I'm telling you. It's something that I feel like in the African American community and the Caribbean community, and well, in all communities, but mainly the African American community and the Caribbean community, we do not stress the importance of our mental health. We do not. And we think that, we're building our kids to be strong, but in all actuality, you're building your kids to be shut off. You're building your kids to handle their emotions, handle their problems, handle everything to a point where it can drive them down a wrong path. And it can cause them to the point of suicide as well. They hold so many things built in over and over and over and over and over again to the point where they will explode. They will. So as a parent, again, I would never sit here and tell anybody how to be a parent to your child. That is not my job, nor is it my place. However, the kids are my place. This is what I do. And my main priority is making sure that the kids are safe and that the kids are getting the help that they need. And again, just because you grow up in a good family, and this is something that I feel like needs to be addressed as well, because people feel like just because you grow up in a household with two parents and stuff like that, everything's happy-go-lucky. The reality of it is it's not, because physically you can have both parents, but that doesn't mean that you're getting the affection that you need. That doesn't mean you're getting the love that you need, and that doesn't mean that you're getting the attention that you need, right? So because we're not getting what we want at home, we go out and we seek it elsewhere. And sometimes it may not be the right path. And other times we might be one of those 1% that are lucky enough, right? So a lot of the times you need to realize, don't ever judge a book by its cover. Just because you may think that, and again, this is going to be coming from a friend perspective, you may think just because this person has like, oh, they got a mom, they got a dad, they got this, they got brothers, they got sisters, happy whole family, like, yeah, your mother's nice. You never know what's going behind closed doors. You will never know. You have to pay attention. Even as a friend, if you really care about your friend, you'll pay attention. You'll check up on them every day. Even as a parent, your kids, you may think that they're happy, but pay attention to them. Pay attention to their signs. If you see one day your daughter or your son will come to you and talk to you about certain things, and then say, you know, your husband comes walking around the corner and then automatically they disappear, pay attention to that. Why would they do that? Why is my daughter running? Why is my son running from that? You get what I mean? Like, I know that example might be a bit extreme, but again, paying attention to those signs, just because you may think somebody's happy doesn't mean that they're truly happy.
Very, very true. Very well said. This is true. You guys already know I'm bipolar. I got anxiety as well. Just find out I have a binge eating problem attached to my ADD/ADHD. You know, I just found out that apparently they don't use the term ADD anymore. It's ADHD. I was like, I'm staying corrected. But I still say ADD because technically I don't see me as hyper, whatever. I think it's technically mania, but whatever. ADD. Am I hyper? You think I'm hyper, Lola? I know you're about to say yes. I'm not hyper.
Okay, put it like this. I think you're hyper when somebody tries you. So it's like if you're chilling and say somebody tick you off, yo, this girl can go from like a 0 to like 1,000. I'm not even gonna say 100, but you know.
Wow. Anyways, what else I got? I got some else too. I got some other shit. But anyway, for the most part, I usually can't focus. I'm usually mood swingy or whatever. I have, y'all know how it goes. The bipolar, the anxiousness of the life, and then not being able to concentrate. I have a really annoying binge eating situation where I'm snacking all the time. I am on medication, so for the most part, I'm pretty much fine. I just moved recently. That's the background look a little bit different to you guys. Actually, not really, because it's kind of blurred and it's kind of white. So yeah, if you guys be on Bigo, if you guys been my last, you would know I was living in the trenches. Therefore, my mind was really out of whack. So very, very important to recognize when you're yourself. Very, very important to recognize when you're in a toxic situation, when you're not able to thrive, when you're not able to be your 100% self. A lot of people get comfortable with toxicity. And it took me a long time to realize that. And it took me twice to live through toxicity in other ways that I never realized. It's not even just parents, just like living in it. Like, I grew up in the hood, lived there my whole life, went to college, was fine, came back home, and was depressed again because I was like, you know what? I left the hood to go to college and came right back to the hood, and I was depressed as hell. I was like, bro, same bums on the corner, same bullshit, same, like, parents to me off. They running me dry, taking all my damn money. Like, it's just ridiculous. It was just, I was surrounded by toxicity. Y'all know that story. I have that story on my channel. So it's really interesting. I didn't notice how bad that environment was. I really thought it was mainly my parents. It was like maybe my parents, but a solid 20% was the environment. Move, flourish, perfect, hit 100K. Then I went to go move again because, it's too small of a space. I was great there, landlord issues, moved to this current spot. I know ghetto chronicles, trenches problems, whatever. I feel so much better now. I've taken so many breaks this year. Y'all know I'm a Capricorn. All we do is work. Okay, all we do is work. I could say I've taken so many breaks this year that it's disgusting. Like, I'm so disgusted with myself. And I know you're like, take care of yourself, breaks a bit. No, listen, working makes me happy. Like, working is my happy place. When I'm not working, it makes me like, me not making a video, me not going live, me not like doing something makes me like, ugh. So it's like me taking all these breaks. I'm strange. I'm snapping at people. I'm moody, and that's just not me. Aside from me having my bipolar episodes, that's not me. So it's very odd how a lot of that plays into things, you know, being in toxic environments, having toxic parents, being in a place where it's like, you know, you can't be your best really will affect you. And I feel like a lot of us ignore that, you know, because we're so comfortable. We're like, oh, you know what, I lived in it all my life, so I'm fine. Oh, well, you know, my parents always been like that, so I should be able to deal with it. You know, I'm fine. You know, well, my friends always been like that. That's just how they are. I don't have to hold them accountable. That's just, you know, you need to be able to stand up for yourself, move yourself out of situations that don't serve you, and be able to actually say and recognize when you need to go in for help. And I know that there's always those people. Oh, they're trying to kill us. Medication's bad. Da, da, da. Let me tell you this right now, right? Stop listening to fucking social media. A bunch of people that don't know how to even wash their ass right, trying to tell you what the fuck to do with your life in terms of your mental health. A lot of these people didn't even graduate from high school and trying to tell you what to do with your mental health. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. It's blasphemous. And yes, I understand that being on a whole bunch of drugs may not be the best for a lot of people, but if being on certain types of medication or certain medication is what's going to get you to be the best and the most productive, then do that shit. There is no shame in that game. If you have to take some meds, take some fucking meds. It's not fucking serious. It really isn't. I personally don't understand where all of this has come from, but I guarantee you, you cannot woosah your way out of any type of mental illness. Understand that when you are mentally ill and you have a legit mental problem, this shit is gonna get worse. As you get older, it gets 10 times worse. Not only because it is a chemical imbalance, but mainly because when you are mentally ill, for the most part, you don't rationalize things properly. And then it's life, right? You get different jobs. You go to different places. You get in different relationships. You know, life starts to change. And since you're not able to really gauge things well because you're mentally ill or you may have like some sort of mental imbalance, things just start to get like, you start to really just become real shaky, unhinged. I'm telling you, you think this is a game, you think this is a joke, you think you could just eat your life better? Okay, go right ahead. You think you could yoga yourself better? Go right ahead. You think you go ahead. This is a game. It's really not. Y'all playing games with y'all life. Y'all think y'all can just stay in that household and coop yourself up in the closet, and then your parents just gonna stop beating you, gonna stop taking from you, gonna stop pissing you off, gonna become nice overnight. You think that you could just, oh, well, I don't need no help. And I feel like a lot of people refuse to go, you know, get mental health services. And the thing is, especially when you live in the hood or you live in like a small community, a lot of these services are free. Like mental health services are really free for a lot of these people. It's like, I feel like a lot of people don't want to go because they don't want a mirror reflected back at them, because that's what it does. You know, like therapy tells you about yourself. Like it tells you like, yeah, you're toxic yourself. You know, it tells you like, yeah, you're wasting too much money. Yeah, you shit. It tells you know, and it tells you like, hey, you need to be on meds. Hey, you're this, that, that, that. Hey, you're, you know, it tells you. So maybe, you know, but sometimes you need that. A lot of y'all don't listen to your friends anyway. So it's like, sometimes your friends will tell you and you just take it personal. Sometimes you need that listen, sometimes you need that non-partisan person to tell you about yourself, you know, instead of a professional, because a lot of professionals will tell you and you won't listen to the professional either. But sometimes you need to go find another professional. And every time I tell, yo, you know how many times I tell like an adult, because you know, like I said, I'm like the kid was people talk to me all the time, like, oh, can you come talk to my kid? And then I'll try to tell the adult, like, hey, it's you, it's not the kid. And they'll sit there and they'd be like, oh, I'm the adult and they're the kid, it's them. How can you tell me that? I'm like, why the fuck did you call me here then? Like, and I'd be like, no, I think you need psychological help. You know, sometimes I've told like, I think you need psychological help because you're wrong. Like, this is fucked up. Like, you even need to call me here. There's nothing for me to say anything to kid. If anything, you need to call me to tell you that there's something wrong with you. Like, that's fucked up. You don't do that. Right. And they'd be like, oh, I'm a stranger to tell me about myself. And I'm like, is that what you guys really think therapy is? Like, okay, so I'm like, therapists are legitimate doctors, right? So I'm like, oh, if you had a heart attack, would you sit at home and try to woo right away? Right? Would you sit at home and do yoga and listen to TikTok videos and just try to self-diagnose a heart attack? Let's be very real, right? So I don't get it. Like, why do y'all think it's okay to self-diagnose mental illnesses, but it's not okay to self-diagnose a heart attack or your leg falling off or like,
Right.
shit or alopecia or
And let's
anything else
clarify
like that?
some things. Right. And let's clarify some things because this is something that gets me every time. Therapists are not here to fix you.
That
Okay.
too. That
Let's
too.
get
They're there to
that.
help.
Let's clean the head. Let's clean the air. Therapists are not here to, their job is not to fix you. Okay. Their job is to give you the skills and the tools that you need to be able to handle your emotions, problem
Yep.
solving skills, teaching you what you need that can help you be successful within yourself. It is not a therapist's job to fix you. I'm telling you guys that right
Yep.
now. And that's a lot of mistakes that people do. Like they'll sit here and be like, oh, I don't want to go to a therapist. Um, or when they go, they'll be like, oh, aren't you supposed to fix me? Said who? Did I bring you into this world to fix you? Am I in your shoes to fix you? That's not a
Right.
therapist's job. And when it comes to your mental health and your issues, I'm not saying that you can't trust your friend because you can. It's more so you're better off talking to someone that can come at you from a non-biased standpoint because sometimes we have those friends that are just going to tell us what we want to hear. Because they're our friends, they're going to be like, oh, everything's going to be okay, everything's going to be fine, oh, we'll figure it out and stuff like that. That's not helping you. That's just telling you what you want to hear. Whereas a therapist, they can honestly help you see things from a perspective that you probably would have never thought to think of. And
Yep.
it's gonna take some time because I had to go through 3, 4 different therapists before I found the one that was for me. So
Right.
it's gonna be a lot and it sucks that you're gonna be going to therapist after therapist. But you know what? I'd rather sit here and find the one for me than for it to be forced. And that's the one thing that people do not want it because guess what? If you drive yourself to a certain point, even at an older age, and you're in a workplace and stuff like that, and say, because perfect example of a story, when I was in college, I vented to a friend, so upset. I was going through a lot. I was saying how, I was so done. I didn't want to be here anymore and stuff like that, to the point
Mhm.
where he went and opened his mouth, right? He just went seeking information on how to talk to me and communicate to me. But instead, it just opened a whole chuck of a door where at the university, of course, they in their minds, they're going to take it seriously, right? Because they, God forbid that, something wants to happen to me, they don't want to be liable for it as in any business. So I was
Mhm.
mandated to go to counseling. And because I was
Oh wow.
mandated, I didn't care. Yeah, because I was mandated, I didn't care to participate. I was just like, oh, I just got to be here because I need to be here to graduate. I wasn't putting forth that effort to really try and get the help that I need because I was being forced to. So if you
Right.
have that opportunity to go to counseling on your own terms, do it. Because what y'all don't realize, a counselor cannot help you unless you're meeting them halfway. Because guess what? If you're constantly sitting there and you're just quiet or you're just, giving short answers and stuff like that, you're hurting yourself more. You're hurting yourself more. And God forbid you have a family. What example are you setting to them? If you have a little brother or a little sister, what example are you setting to them? It's okay to have a therapist. It's okay. It's okay to talk to somebody that can help you. And again, it may take a while to find the right one that's for you. But guess what? The more you keep holding it in and the more people keep telling you what you want to hear, you're not going to get any better. You're going to get worse. You're going to get worse.
Mhm.
Even Ivana, when I reached my point and I was calling this girl and texting her and calling her all times of the day, all times of the night, literally, she would tell me, you need to go see a therapist. You need to go talk to somebody because listen. So again, I she's that person for me, right? So you guys should have that friend that's willing to tell y'all that. Like she didn't try to step in and be like, oh, everything's gonna be fine. Oh, you'll be okay. Like just calm down and da-da-da.
Don't do
She
that.
never did that. She'll tell me you need to go.
But yes, you're not gonna be
Like you need to
okay.
go to see a therapist. Right. And I'm like, and even at the age that I am now, like before I used to be on meds. I used to take medication for anxiety. I used to take medication for depression. I had suicidal ideation. There was a lot of things that I was going through, especially like Ivana said multiple times, I do have my parents are like another level of toxicity. And, you know, I did grow up in that environment where I was physically abused. I was sexually abused. I was mentally and emotionally abused. You name it, I went through it. And I grew up in the hood. So that already had its own deterrence on me. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I say that to say this: do better for yourself. Because when I got older, everything that I held in, everything I've been through affected me when I got older. I started cutting myself. I started binge eating. I was doing completely the opposite of everything I was supposed to do. Everything. Until I actually spoke up and got the help that I needed. And now I kind of feel better. Am I still going through it? Yes. You know, even as people in this field, we need our own therapists. You know, even though we're helping others, we just really still need to help ourselves. And self-care is so important. I don't know how much I can stress this enough. Self-care is important. You need to make sure that mentally you're okay, because if you cannot mentally take care of yourself, how can you expect to help someone else? Right? Even if you're not in the field, how can you take care of your kids or your family or anything or anyone or be that person for someone if you cannot take care of yourself? You're hurting yourself more. You're doing yourself the injustice, because guess what? You're keeping yourself comfortable. And when you keep yourself comfortable, you're missing out on so many opportunities that you could have gotten in life. Because guess what? Nobody is stopping you from being great but you. Nobody. So if you are constantly beating yourself up and beating yourself down about it and stuff like that, oh, why does this person do this? Why does this person do that? Or how come they able to do this? They able to do that? You could do it for yourself too. But you need to take those next steps to do that. You need to take those next steps. Stop playing the blame game. Stop pointing fingers. It's called acceptance. Accept the life that you're living. Accept the situation that you're in. And take those next steps to be like, okay, what is my game plan? How am I going to problem solve this? How am I going to achieve what I want to achieve? Because guess what? Ain't nobody going to tell me no but me.
Yep. I see someone said,
in your way.
Sorry to cut you off real quick. I see someone said if you can't afford it or don't have time. This is the thing. I made a full-blown video about people that can't afford therapy. Google's a friend, right? So in regards to that, you can literally Google anything, right?
If you have insurance, reach out to your insurance provider and they can give you a list of providers that accept your insurance. So you want to have to be paying out of pocket for therapy.
Yeah, and you're 15, so why are you talking about working full time? Hold on. You're 15. I'm so confused. You said, what if you can't afford therapy, don't have time for therapy, like local full time, or not in a location with therapy, or don't have transportation? Is online a good option? Oh, okay. So if you're 15, just go to the guidance counselor. Because I'm thinking you're a full time working mom or something. So if you are,
so if you're 15,
like you said, with insurance, they'll give you people. If you're 15, guidance counselors are free. That's your best option. Definitely your best option.
Yeah.
And online,
you should be in school too. So if you're in school, if you're in school, every school has a mental health department. So they will be sexual, because my first therapist was the therapist that I met in my high school. They have those services there, which you don't even have to pay for. So if you're 15, your school is your best option. And again, if you have insurance, which I'm pretty sure I would hope you do at your age, reach out. Again, you can also do some of these things yourself. And again, this is something that you can also do with your guidance counselor too. So definitely reach out, see what type of.
What was the other one? Oh, so transportation. I mean, bus. I don't know. Can kids take Uber?
Yeah, I mean, if transportation wise, if you're doing it at school, your sessions will typically be like if you have a free period, or they'll pull you out of class or whatever and kind of check in with you and stuff like that. So if you do it at a school, that would be your best option. But if you're doing it out of school, sometimes if you, it's so okay. I can only speak for Rhode Island. I don't know how the services work in New Jersey, but if you get like a youth advocate, or if you get like a mentor, they can also help transport you to your appointments and stuff like that. So again, community outreach, looking at different programs and stuff in your area that can assist with those type of things. Look for a youth advocate, look for a big brother or a big sister, look for a mentor, things like that. That's what they're there for, to help you with.
Yeah, and also when it comes to online therapy, there's lots of different places. And since we're COVID, a lot of therapists actually only do their things online or also online. And for the most part, never be afraid to bargain. If someone's like, "Oh, I charge $100 an hour for therapy," you can be like, "Okay, I can only do 75, or I can only do 50," and you don't need to see them every day. You literally can see them once a month. There you go. $50 a month for a therapist. It's really not that expensive as people try to make it seem. A lot of people be sitting there spending $300 on Jordans every time they drop, sitting there spending $100 on Starbucks every month. Shit, way more than that. So realistically speaking, a lot of people like to make excuses in regards to what they do and what they can and can't do. If you truly want therapy, you truly want help, you'll really put the time and effort to do that and get the help that you really want and you really need. So realistically, just look it up, really. Like, look up what you really want, look up the online therapist, look up therapists in your area, try to contact them. ZocDoc is what I use to find my psychiatrist. I think and honestly, a psychiatrist is the one that gives you medication. I'm looking for a therapist so I can talk to. Usually, if you get a therapist, like a regular like person to speak to, they can usually give you medication. Sometimes they can't, but then have to go to your doctor so much. So that's why I have a psychiatrist, and then you get a therapist for something else. So realistically, all of this, you can literally Google it, look it up. That's something you really want. You should be able to just research it, and it'll give you all the answers. As far as anyone, I see some people like, "Oh, what if you have social anxiety?" Listen, if that's really what you have, that's the whole point of this. Look it up, get the help that you need. You know, just do the research, and I'm sure you'll find it. Definitely you'll find it. So, what was the next point? Oh, I wanted to actually stretch this too. Please don't lie in therapy. I'm getting a lot of influx of people contacting me, and they're like, "Hey, this is happening to me. It's a dissertation of their life," and all of a fucking sudden, at the end of this shit, it's like, "Yeah, I have a therapist, but I ain't telling this to my therapist." I'm like, "Why y'all telling me this shit?" Like, listen, don't do that. Don't.
Yeah, please don't lie in therapy. You're hurting yourself more. And like she said, we cannot stress it enough. Therapy is your safe haven. Therapy is where confidentiality comes in, where you could literally tell them anything under the sun, moon, and the stars, and it will stay within that session. Unless, you're talking about suicide and wanting to harm yourself and needed a psych eval, and depending on your age, that's when they will say something. But other than that, everything else is confidential. And you're free to talk about whatever and anything that you need to. So there's no need to lie.
True. Very true. Like, do not lie, because what happens is they're not able to properly help you. Like, can you imagine if you're like sitting there like, "Hey, yeah, everything's great, everything's fine, I feel amazing," and I'm like, "Okay, bye." Meanwhile, you sitting there depressed, you crying every day, you mad, can't sleep. Like, you can't do that. You cannot lie if you're going to a therapist, because that's the whole point. You're at a therapist to get help. So if you're gonna talk to your therapist, who you want the truth to? Shit, y'all not a god. Like, at this point, you just don't want help. So you can't lie to the therapist. Like, it just doesn't really make any logical sense. If that's the case, just don't go, because you're wasting your time, you're wasting the therapist's time. You have to be able to be real with yourself, and most importantly, you have to be able to, like, especially if you're going to a psychiatrist that's giving you medication, the worst thing you can do is lie. Child, the worst thing you can do is lie.
Side effects to those medications.
Yeah, the side effects are a bitch. If you sitting there talking some, "Oh, the medication isn't working," and the next thing you know, they upping your dosage, and now you zooted Like,
And
child.
what you guys need to know too, don't think just because you have a psychiatrist when you go there, you tell them you want medication, they're gonna give it to you. It's a process. Like you will have to go through a psych evaluation. You will have to go through a lot of things to make sure that you actually need it. Because when it comes to substance use, a lot of people think that they'll be able to get a hold of these medications and, oh well, I have a, so I'm gonna just get a psychiatrist or get somebody that can prescribe me meds, that can help me with med management and stuff like that, just so I can get the meds. And no, it's a process to get it, and you would have to actually go through a session, a proper session, in order to get that. So if you're gonna sit here and lie in a therapy session, it's not guaranteed that you'll even get medication. So, and again, like Ivana just said, like if you tell the therapist one thing and they're going off of that because to them, like they're gonna assume that you're being honest because you want to be here because you're being communicative and you're opening up about certain things. Best believe that medication will harm you. It does have side effects. I wouldn't say personally for me, I'm not against it nor am I for it. I believe that people like again, like I said, I even took it, but I would say don't be reliant on it, if that makes sense. Like don't be reliant on it and just like if you need it for that time, that's okay. But again, work on yourself. Work on your self happiness. Work on building yourself up. So yes, if you have a therapist, talk to them. Be open. Be honest. Because guess what? You do not want to have to be reliant on medication to the point where God forbid you run out. Then it's like, oh, I think I'm gonna go crazy. Like I'm not gonna be able to handle my anger or whatever the case. Like no, you need to be self-reliant on you, not the medication. Because believe it or not, you might be getting a placebo and you don't even know about it. So
That is true. Very true.
you gotta be true and honest to yourself and to your therapist.
Very true. Like it really baffles me that people really lie in therapy. I never knew that was a thing until recently. Like I really thought people actually like tell the truth to their therapist.
Oh no, people
There's
lie.
definitely shitty therapists. I fired a couple of therapists. Like I don't
I
care.
had to go through like a good 3 or 4 before I found my one. So I know the feeling.
I had to go through a couple of therapists where I was like, "What did you say?" All right, I ain't coming back. So I mean, it's just like anything else. Like just like there's certain doctors that you go to where you're like, okay, I don't like that. He literally just wrote the script and walked away. Like I don't know why it is that when it comes to therapy, people kind of judge them a lot harsher than any other doctor. Um, it's a doctor, just like any other doctor. If you don't like the doctor, you go to another doctor. It is what it is. You're not just gonna go to a therapist and love them right away. You don't like the doctor, it's trial and error. Go to a whole nother doctor. So got a couple questions for you. So this is my first one, and I know a lot of questions. Ooh, chow. This is gonna be the first one, and I know a lot of people, especially if there's any parents in here, they're definitely gonna say this, especially I do with my reaction videos, right? They're gonna definitely say, oh, some kids are just horrible, they beat to their own drum, some kids are just born bad. Do you think that some kids are just born bad?
No. I don't believe some kids are born bad. I don't believe there's such thing as a bad kid. Again, it starts within the home. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be the parent itself. It could be, whatever the kid is doing outside the home. You could have like one thing I see a lot of parents tend to do, they tend to shelter their kid. That's one thing I see that's been happening a lot. Oh, I don't want my kid hanging out with this person, or I don't want them hanging around this hood or this community or whatever because
Yeah.
they're so afraid. You're sheltering them so they're not learning. Instead of educating, you're sheltering. And when you do that, guess what? Little kids' minds wander. They want to say, "Oh, I want to see why I can't do this or why I can't do that." And then guess what? You think that your kid is in bed while they sneaking out the window, going doing whatever it is that they want to do, right? I don't ever think a kid is born bad. I believe it starts from within the home and how you're raising your child. Again, I'm not attacking any parent, so don't feel like I am. I'm just saying it starts from within the home. It doesn't necessarily have to be the parent, but again, it could be the environment that you guys are in, and it could be you guys not educating them properly on those type of different things. So
Yeah, I think the same thing. I have a lot of parents that like comment on my shit. They'll be like, "Oh, these kids just bad as hell." Da da da. Something like that. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like there's something you just don't know, bro. Maybe somebody touched them. Maybe somebody said something. Maybe like y'all just acting like kids just born evil. I don't know. Maybe 1%. Maybe negative 0.5%
Not
or some shit.
even. Not even.
I,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I don't think
Because a
anything
kid is born
said.
little and innocent. So if they're born innocent and they're this little bundle of joy, right? How can they be born evil
It doesn't make
or
any
be born a
sense.
bad kid? So clearly, if they're growing up in your care, or it could be somebody that you let babysit your kid that
Yeah, I
has
mean,
them growing up that way.
I've seen those Born Evil documentaries and stuff like that. Like I've seen them, and my thing is, I still feel someone missing something. Like I feel like at the end of the day, no one's there at every single fiber and moment of someone's life, right? So, in my opinion, I feel like at the end of the day, you could have dropped a kid at someone's house, right? You could have dropped them at a babysitter's house, and they could have been touched somewhere, or whatever the case may be, and something could have happened, and all of a sudden, now this is happening, or now they're acting a certain way. Now you're perceiving it as one way. Meanwhile, they do something that they just never said something about, right? Or someone could have, violently attacked them somewhere, or they could have been exposed to something somewhere in the school, in a church, or somewhere where you just weren't at. Let me adjust this ISO real quick. So, like, you sit talking about, oh, they were raised in a perfect home, but it's like you don't know what a perfect home is. Like, like a lot of
Exactly.
people, I don't know why
There's
people
no
keep
such thing
saying
as a perfect home. There's
right.
no such thing as a perfect home. It's perfectly imperfect. How about that? It's perfectly imperfect.
Right. All the time. Like, oh, this person, like, or I've seen a lot of people that be like, oh, my mom had 5 kids. All of us were raised exactly equal, but then one, they're a murderer. The rest of us are fine. And I'm like, I don't know. Went through something completely different than y'all. You guys may have been raised the same, but that person could have a different perception. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe something happened to him that didn't happen to you. Like I don't know. It's very interesting because it's like what they weren't. You guys weren't always in the same places. Thank you so much. I hope. I can't pronounce that. Hula Mutari. I don't know how to say that, but thank you. But I feel like kids really do see things. Aquarius, you are correct. Kids do see things very well, and on top of that, kids are not stupid, and kids are like sponges. You just sit
These
there
kids
and
remember everything they see, even at 1 years
they
old. They
do.
remember it.
A lot of things that I remember, and I bring it up, and my parents be like, "How the hell do you remember that? You were 3." I'm like, I wasn't stupid. I was
Mm-hmm.
young. No, you think this is like I remember a lot. So of course, this brings me to my next one. Do you think that some kids make up their toxic stories?
I do. I definitely do. I feel like a lot of kids sometimes it could be them coming from like a genuine place, but just trying to fit in, right? Because you don't want to feel like, oh, you don't have like a story, or your friend's feeling like this, your friend feeling like that. So sometimes we kind of make up our own toxic story, which sometimes isn't okay because depending on what you say, you don't know if your friend is blabbering that off to somebody else, and then God forbid, next thing you know, you got a social worker, poop, 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 knocking at your door. Then what happened? So it's never good to lie about anything. You can still be there for your friends. You don't have to. They should be able to accept you for who you are if they're really your friends. You shouldn't have to lie about what's going on in your home or what's going on in your family. And again, like Ivana said earlier, we explain what toxicity is. Please, please do not get upset and start complaining if they say, "Oh, you can't play video games," or "You get mad at you." That's not toxic. That's
Mhm.
discipline. That's holding you accountable. So there's a difference.
Yeah.
Um, but I do believe, yes, children do make up their own toxic stories sometimes to fit into society. Yes.
Yeah. I've had a lot of. I have had not. I've had a couple friends that really have made up the most ridiculous stories. I had two friends that really lied, and I was just looking at her like, really, like who lies about having cancer? And then she tried to say like her grandma was abusing her with her cancer, and I was just sitting there like, what in the child? I was like, yo, people are just wicked. I'm kidding you not. Like, girl had like the whole church coming to her house. It was bro. Like,
wow. And this is the thing when you lie
yes.
about growing up in a toxicity home, you got to keep up with the lie. And that's hard because it's going to come to a point where you done told so many different lies that you're not even going to remember which one you said already and how to keep up with it. And guess what? You're back at square one because people remember things. They'll be like, wait, but didn't you just say, but didn't you say your mom was? Hold up.
Nah, yo, the crazy part about it is she kept saying her mom was doing this and the third. Meanwhile, like, it was weird because her mom, like, died, but then, like, her sister was her real mom. So they lied to her and told her her real mom was dead, but her real mom was her sister, and her sister was, like, extremely toxic. It was a very strange story.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It was so strange. But like I knew
Sounds
the
like
story
that.
before she tried to go public with the story. And when she finally went public with the story, she couldn't keep the story straight. So then we went to the same
That's how
church
you
and
know.
it got to the point where the people in the church said like, oh, we're gonna go see da da da, and I was like, for what? And it was like, yeah, she got kids. I was like, what y'all talking about? I was like, I was like, oh,
Wow.
I was
That's
like, I'm not
crazy.
even about to. Child, I was like, I'm not even about to entertain this shit. And then my mom even was like, oh, I heard that I got cancer. I said, I'm not about to entertain none of this. At this point, I already knew her
Honestly,
story was.
if
I knew her
anybody
story was
lies
bullshit.
about cancer, bro, I I don't think as a friend I would look at you the same way. I'm sorry. That's just if you lie about something as severe as that, then mentally something's really is wrong with you because that you really think you're a chronic liar for that. I'm sorry. I mean, that's just the issue side of me, the professional side of me. You gonna need some help if you lying about something like that.
I barely. It's high by how you being at this point because I was just like, this girl weird. Like, I think she does have like a abandonment issue because I mean she doesn't really have parents at this point. So it's like
Oh,
the
okay.
child. Yeah, she's kind of off. The child. I was like, ooh, I love that. It was such a mess. Like they really pulled up the house. Like she literally said like she was dying, bro. Like it was bad. It was so bad. That's a story for a whole
I'm
nother
happy I didn't
time.
encounter that because listen.
Like so, of course. So the next one, oh, I did ask them. I already asked that question about the it started at home mentality. So I guess, and I think, yeah, we kind of touched on this. So I guess it would bring me to my last question of what do you think parents can do to try to heal their toxicity that they've inflicted?
Ooh. Personally, I say acceptance and communication and listening, being an active listener and not taking what your kids have to say so personal. Because again, you don't if you're giving them that space to open up to you and be honest, and again, this is where family therapy can come into. If you don't necessarily want to go that route, then start being more understanding and more opening and open that line of communication and talk to them. Check on your kid, see how they're doing, and don't get upset if they tell you certain things. Don't flip out at them. Don't hold it against them if they finally come and tell you, like, this is how I've been feeling, mom or dad, or for all the single fathers out there, kudos to you. But at the same time, like, don't be so quick to use it against them and be like, oh, that's how you feel about me. That's how you think I am as a parent. So all this time I'm thinking I'm doing this, and like, don't, because then you're making a situation worse. So just be an active listener, listen to them and see where you can compromise. I know sometimes we don't think compromising with the kid is a good thing because in your mind, you're the adult, you're the parent, whatever you say goes, put your foot down type of thing, which is okay. You could still be that type of parent, but you got to start realizing that your child is starting to grow up. Your child is going to start growing up. And it's going to come to the point where if you keep with those same methods and you're not having an open line of communication with your kid, best believe they're going to go find it somewhere else and it might not be the appropriate one. So
That's
definitely
very
become
true.
an active listener, open that line of communication, and that should be the first step.
That is very true. That's very true. And it's so sad. It's very hard to have a conversation with these people. I feel like as soon as you say one thing, the shit ends up being a 2 hour argument, and then you get going out the window. And then all of a sudden you're ungrateful, and then they call it any and everybody. This is an interesting question. This comes from Maled. I'm trying to put your comment on the screen, but let me see. So it says, do you think you should forgive your parents for how bad they raised you? I'm like, ooh.
Ooh. Honestly, Maled, I think that's how you pronounce it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say that to you because I'm going to say that to you because I was one of those kids, and Ivana can attest to when I held a grudge against my family for so long. Long. And it's to the point where it's not about, forgiving them to make them feel better. It's about forgiving them for yourself and your healing process, right? Because when we have so much hatred and so much pain and so much resentment that we hold in, we hold ourselves back. We can accept and forgive the fact of what happened to us and stuff like that and for the way they raised us. But you know what? You're older now. You're going to be an adult if you're not already an adult. There's no need to constantly hold thing again. Your past is what makes you who you are today. It doesn't define you, but it makes you, right? So let me clarify on that. Let me clarify on that before somebody starts cutting my head off. Your past.
Say it
again. So let me clarify what I'm saying. Before you get ready to take my head off. Because a perfect example, a lot of people like to use their past as an excuse, right?
Oh, okay.
As to why certain things happen or as to why they can't move on with their life and they can't do this and they can't do that. What I'm saying is your past should be that eye-opener, that lesson for you to overcome that and be better and be the person that you want to be. Don't let your past dictate your future is what I'm trying to say. So,
very true.
As far as forgiving your parents for how bad they raised you, because they raised you the way they did, it made you stronger. Because my parents raised me the way they did, believe me, I'm one hell of a strong girl now, I'll tell you that much. But it made you stronger. It made you a fighter. Not saying, you don't have to forgive them again. It's your decision. But I promise you, when you forgive them for how they raised you and you're at peace with yourself, it is the best feeling ever. It is the best feeling ever.
So I have a different opinion on this one, so that's different. So I see a couple people keep saying I'm glitching, so I'm gonna actually move real quick.
Yeah, you were glitching for a while.
Really? Why? I just seen it, and I'm like, what? So if
I told you was.
No, you didn't.
I did. I told you.
Oh wait, that one part.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be black for 2 seconds. I don't think it's gonna disconnect the live, but I'm gonna go black. So 2 seconds, y'all. Y'all can hear me, right? Y'all can hear me.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, that's all that matters. 2 seconds. Because I'm like, I don't know how I'm glitching, because my Wi-Fi is fine. It's just not fine on this thing. So, anyhow, I don't know why it's doing that. So strange. Oh, let's go in the living room. Hopefully it's better out there. If not, oh well. Oh, I almost fell. Jesus.
Lord, we are not responsible for any injuries that come to you while this live stream is going on.
Wow. Sis Odim. Wow, Messi. Thank you. Thank you very much. Glad to know. Glad to know, ma'am, that you are not responsible for my injuries today.
I am not.
Wow. You're not going to say
though. I'll call 911 if need be. I call them for you.
Wow. Oh, let me turn the light on. Oh, that's weird. There you go. So this rain is wicked outside. Jesus.
I know. It's still raining over here.
Nah, but that 100-degree weather, we needed it, so not mad.
Okay.
All right. Now, I don't see my face yet. That's not good. Oh my lord. We about to just be anonymous. Oh lord. This is not supposed to happen. Why am I not here? What did I do? I didn't change anything. Oh lord.
Lord.
Whew. But yeah, these people, to be honest with you, the whole toxic parent situation, like, I don't know. I would assume that when people have toxic parents, like, or like when, how do I explain it? I would assume that all toxic parents come from toxic homes, and when they have kids, they would want to do different. But apparently, they just be like, no, I'm gonna just do the same thing. But I guess it comes from what we were talking about earlier, like, oh well, I don't have to change, da 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 da, or when you keep seeing something, you're just gonna be like, all right, well, I don't have to do this, I don't have to do that, and it's just so sad. Like, it's just so unfortunate. It's really unfortunate because it really shouldn't have to be that way. It really shouldn't, because people really, these kids should not have to go through that. Like, I feel really bad for them. They really shouldn't. Like,
even the kids I work with now. Whew, them stories, girl.
I bet. Like, I really do. So hold up. I'm gonna just put you as a solo for right now, because at this point, I can't find me. Like, girl. I'm telling you, this is weird. Like, I literally, all I did was move. Like, I didn't change much.
Right.
Like, it's so strange. Like,
that's crazy. I'm still reading that question. Like, it took me a while to forgive.
Okay, so I'll just go on with my opinion about this whole forgiveness thing. So basically, what you said is, yeah, forgive for you. Da, da. So the whole forgiveness problem with me in general is that I personally do not believe in just forgiving people willy-nilly when they do legitimately horrible things for you. But I also don't believe going around carrying a grudge and a chip on your shoulder, because I just don't believe that makes any logical sense. But I feel like when people say the whole forgive people for you situation, I feel like forgiveness is a very strong word, just like how hate is a very strong word. But I also believe that horrible people don't deserve the gift of forgiveness, right? So I don't believe you should just go around like, oh my God, I hate this person. I don't believe you should carry animosity.
I mean,
but
that's why I also said you don't forgive them for them. You get what I mean? Like, but do it for yourself and your heart. It wasn't about, just letting them off the hook, because clearly that's far from what it is. But it's just like in yourself, like, you know what? I'm older now. It is what it is. Like, I forgive them for whatever they did, but that doesn't mean you're giving them the solidarity that they need to be like, okay, my child forgave me. You get what I mean? And I'm only saying that because, again, growing up in a Caribbean household, especially, we don't know how our parents was raised, right? So again, it could be a trained behavior. I'm not excusing it. I'm not excusing it. Believe me, I'm not excusing it. But again, how they were raised from a different time frame than what we were. What they back then, what was disciplined to them back then is abuse now, right?
Right.
So the way that they raised us, they were raising us the best way that they know how, because that's how they were raised. Especially if they were raised in another country. Now, again, I'm not gonna hold that against them, and my relationship that I have with my family, I forgave them. But best believe we still have our distance. I probably only talk to them like once or twice a month, if that. I see them maybe 3-4 times a year, if that. So again, forgiving them, but still keeping that healthy distance for yourself.
True. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that just lets people, like, I don't know. I feel like forgiveness has to be earned, and I feel like apologies are a benchmark. And if the person does not apologize, there is no forgiveness. Therefore,
okay, but let me give you this scenario. Growing up in a house, in a Caribbean household, right?
yes.
And you already know they're not keen on communication. They're not keen on anything. So imagine you going to them saying, hey, you did this to me, you did that to me. I didn't like the way you raised me. You abused me. You this, you that. Do you really think, especially if that's how they were raised, given us the circumstances of the country now as well, do you think they'll be open to giving an apology?
That's your business. As an adult, is your
responsibility to look from within and be a better person. That doesn't mean I have to suffer and give my tokens of goodness to you. So at that point, I'm not going to hold you malice, but I'm also not going to give you the satisfaction of, oh, I forgive you and allow you to keep being a toxic ass person.
So again, what I just said, forgiving within yourself, but not to them.
That's not forgiveness. That's just, I'm going to acknowledge that you ain't shit and I'm going to move on. That ain't forgiveness.
You are forgiving. You're forgiving. You are forgiving, because this is the thing. What people don't tend to realize a lot of the times, what we tend to do is we tend to sit back, and sometimes it's like, why me? Like, what did I do to deserve this? What did I do to deserve this? Right? And a lot of the times it's like we put ourselves as if we're the reasons why. Like, it's our fault that we're doing that. Or sometimes there's times where I thought me being born was the reason why it was my fault. Everything was happening to me. So
What? You did not.
I did, because because I'm like, damn, my brother's got it easy. I'm over here getting this. I'm over here getting that. Like, I always thought at some point in time that it was my fault because I messed up their dynamic of a perfect trio for boys. Like, I feel like, and I say this, or like, even my mom might be like, okay, so put it like this, I'm a daddy girl. I feel like if I had a penis between my legs, my mom would have been treating me way more differently, way more respect.
To be honest, you probably would.
Exactly. So
I'm not even gonna lie. Your mom has a very blatant favoritism towards those men that do nothing for their lives, that literally made themselves statistics and have done nothing, have no accomplishments. Meanwhile, you know what? Let me shut up just in case they honestly don't go fuck. They could pull up. But anyhow, let me not. Anyhow. Child.
But I'm saying forgiveness as in forgiving yourself. And because a lot of times,
the damn webcam, I have no idea why this is not working.
Because I had to forgive myself, for allowing the abuse to go on for as long as I let it go on. I had to forgive myself for a lot of things, but the main thing was that I had to forgive and accept.
This is the thing. Yeah, no, I feel like it's an acceptance and an acknowledgement, not really a forgiveness. Just like how they refuse to apologize and they're just going to completely do their same shit. It's like,
I think it depends. I think it depends on what the forgiveness is.
True.
I think it depends on what the forgiveness is.
Because like most of these parents, they just continue to still be toxic. So it's like, at that point, I didn't forgive you because you're going to keep doing it. So it's like, at that point, it's like, no, it's not forgiveness.
I mean, it took me to be an adult to forgive. I ain't gonna lie. I'm 26 now. I ain't forgive him till about a year ago. I ain't gonna hold you.
Oh, Lord.
Again, you go at your own pace.
Like, no, I don't have time.
I forgave my parents. I just keep them because, okay, so yes, I personally did forgive my parents because for those that aren't, well, you guys won't be aware, but my dad, he is diabetic and he's very old, and my mom has cancer and she's very old. And after working in this field for so long, I run into kids that don't have a mom, that don't have a dad, and for some that don't have them at all. And I have mine, and my mindset was, you know what, I'm no longer in that state. So there you go. So I'm no longer in that state. So, they can't continue to hurt me. And again, there's a lot of things off my chest that I still wanted to say to them, that I still want to say that I didn't. But you know what? I needed to realize that I'm complaining and bitching about mine. Ooh, excuse my language. But I'm complaining about mine and stuff like that when there's others that don't have them at all. So for me, it was more of a realization factor and accepting and letting go. And just now making sure that, what happened to me don't happen to my nieces and nephews growing up in that household. So I think it really boils down to the type of forgiveness that you're looking for, that they're looking for. But I do agree with you in the acceptance piece.
Yeah, facts. I'm sorry guys about the connection, and yes, I'm using my webcam now because I don't understand what's up with this camera today. Well, right now I don't know what's going on. I probably just did something stupid. Yes, and Olive, I agree with this. This is why this is up on the screen. And yeah, you're right in terms of the, some people really don't have parents. And yeah, sometimes you gotta be like, yeah, some people don't have parents, so that makes perfect sense. To be honest, yeah, that is true. I mean, your dad is fine though. I mean, it's your mom that's a little, your relationship with your mom.
My dad was fine.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's very interesting. Your mom is very, very interesting.
Yeah, she's
to say the least. Your brothers are just
Mm.
else. So it's like, I know what you, when they're gone, you're probably going to look back and be like, oh my God, I should have did more. Or I should have da, 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 da. But to be honest, none of it is your fault. Toxic people are toxic people.
That's so
Like,
sad.
yeah, like it is what it is. No one's saying, even if you have toxic parents, that means you can't love your parents. Just like, someone told me something recently, and it was like, forgive yourself for wanting people to be different, but also forgive yourself for expecting any different. It is what it is. Some people are just gonna be
I
out of
like
y'all.
that.
Yeah, like it is what it is. Like you just gotta know who you're dealing with, and if you accept it, you accept it. If you don't, you don't. Like it is what it is. That's why it's like there's only certain types of people I'll accept doing certain types of shit. And then there's certain people where it's like, I'm not taking that one from you, bro. I have enough toxic people on my roster. It. Like, no.
I can't take another person, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna happen.
Like, no, we're not taking any new patients. Like, no new patients.
I wish I could say that.
Yeah, like we're not taking any no. Like that's not what we're about to do. So it's one of those things where I completely no. Like I'm just one of those, like when it comes to certain people constantly doing something to me, I just can't. Like once or twice, maybe. But after that, it's like no. Swear up.
Yeah, I got a limit. It's one and done for me. You know that.
Well, I told you.
It's one and done for me.
Nah,
Because if you're able to do it that one time,
Yep.
you're gonna do it again. One way or another, you're gonna do it again.
Very true. So I feel you. Very true. So any other questions? Let's see what else is in this chat. Don't forgive when they do. Ooh, this is different. Ooh. Don't forgive when they die. Wow, that's different. At least they gave you a roof over your head. Forgive when they die. Yeah, I mean.
Let me touch base on that a little bit.
That's bare minimum. I think that's kind of the fuck. No one told you to have a kid.
So at least they gave you a roof over your head. Let's be real about it. Technically, they're obligated to put a roof over your head if they conceived and brought you into the world. They're obligated to lawfully at that, like she said. If they don't, that results in you being pulled out your home, and they will be charged with neglect and abuse. So yeah, technically, it's their job. I won't say we need to be thankful for them providing a roof over our head. We didn't ask to be born. We didn't ask to be conceived. They went ahead and made that decision the minute, y'all know how intercourse is. But
yeah, like I don't understand people. This honestly comes from a very toxic mindset, especially a lot of Caribbeans have this mindset. Caribbeans and foreign Black parents and just Black people in general have this whole mindset of, oh, at least I fed you, I put a roof over your head, and then okay, you kind of
had to
understand what y'all think this is. Like that's not a right. Like in terms of, I mean, that's not a privilege, that's a right. Okay, like what the fuck are you talking about? Like you have to do that, and that's all a lot of you guys can say you've done as a parent. And that's really sad. Like I see a lot of people, they'll try to be like, oh, it's okay that my mom did that, it's okay that my dad did that, at least they fed me. I just be sitting there like,
they're obligated to feed you. If they don't, they can go to jail for abuse. And let's address this. Parents can actually do time. It is a federal offense. Neglect and abuse. They can pull you out the home. They can do time for not doing these things for their child.
No, like seriously, like that's just such a, like, if that's what you think, and if this is what you claim as love, or like if you claim as like a child, that just really annoyed me. Like if this is something that you think is like, oh my God, a kudo point or like some sort of point as a parent, then there's something psychologically wrong with you, like legit. Like there's something really wrong with you, and your parents have definitely manipulated you, and adults around you have genuinely manipulated you to a point where you think that this is something like, oh, well, at least this is what they've done. What the fuck does that mean?
Listen, once you turn 18, that's when your parents are no longer obligated to provide for you.
No, but seriously.
As long as you're 17 and younger and you're in their household, they have to provide for you legally.
Yeah, like this is your human right. To have a roof over your head and water. Like I just can't. Like it comes to a point where if this is what you think I'm supposed to cry for my parents at their funeral about, child.
My parents ain't gonna like me because I don't do funerals, so I don't know.
You need to stop that. You're not doing it. We already had this conversation. I'm not about to do like
I don't do funerals, bro. They could zoom me in or something.
We're not doing that. We're not doing this. Oh
I
Lord.
don't do funerals, bro. Please stop.
Like, to be honest, oh Lord. Oh, Tam, you're right. The most toxic thing about island parents is that they resort to beating for everything and then they don't take mental health seriously. To be honest with you,
Oh my God, you are right. I still got bruises
Wow.
from them days. I still got bruises.
Like, I could never understand how. Like, I used to go to my friends' houses and like my friends' parents have never had a problem beating the shit out of my friends in front of me.
Oh my God, let me tell y'all this story, right? So I remember I came home from school, like like them little poppers that came in like the things when you like drop it just pops. So my twin decided it was okay to have a pack in his pocket. So while we're taking the test, it all falls and you just hit like a whole bunch of pops. So I was already praying. You know how my parents is, when one get in trouble, we both get in trouble. So I'm like, damn, I already know I'm about to get my ass beat. I'm like sitting here like, yo, game planning, like, yo, when we go home, automatically we gotta run upstairs and like just add on extra layer of clothing. So we get home, but this time my friend, she came with me. Now I thought that because she came with me, my parents wouldn't, go as crazy. They'll be more lenient. I lied to myself. They got to implement her in it. Talk about go boil some hot water. But yo, we ran upstairs, and me and her was upstairs, and we could just hear my brother just getting whipped, like whip after whip after whip, and I got so scared. I literally bolted out that house. I was done. I ran away. That was the first time I could say I ran away from home. I ran for my life because after hearing that and the thought of her having my friend boil hot water, I only imagined what my mom had planned for that. So I bolted. It when listen, my mental health was like,
that's really bad. Like, I don't get that. Like, they have no shame in terms of disciplining their kids in front of other people. Like, that's really disgusting. Like, your child is a child, and then you do it in front of other people. It's like extremely embarrassing. It's damaging. Like, I remember like a couple of my friends' parents would sit there and beat the shit out of their parents, and then they would include me in the shit. Like, oh yeah, you see what they did? What do you think? You think I should beat them some more? I'd just be like, I don't think you should do that at all. Like,
again, and what we gotta remember is that, especially when our Caribbean parents are coming from the island and coming here, they're coming from an island that don't have rights for children.
Yeah,
that allows them to discipline a child how they want to. So when they're coming into the U.S., which to them is a foreign country for them, sometimes they don't take into account to really do their research on anything. So again, what they might consider discipline to the United States is abuse.
Absolutely.
So they set themselves up for that one.
Yeah, I used to sit there and just like, some people just genuinely confuse me with their definition of discipline, like, and just why. Like, it can never make sense to me how people would like beat the hell out of their kids for having bad grades. I'd just be like,
I was one of them. Anything below a B+ was a beat down.
That doesn't make sense. Get the kid a tutor.
I ain't need no tutor. We just ain't here to get the work done.
See, in your case, you bad as shit. Get your work done.
Die, but it's
See, in your case, no, that's ridiculous as hell.
I still don't think it's appropriate to beat your kid just because they had a bad grade.
No, that's not appropriate at all. But I'm saying, like, like, you should have been fucking doing your damn work.
They could have, but did you ever think of maybe the reason why I didn't do my work was because of them?
Yes, of course, but you shouldn't beat the shit out of them. But still, it's like, why? Well, okay, why didn't you do your work?
I didn't do my work because of them, because it was literally like, it wasn't fair. Like, I felt like I was bringing myself into like this full, like constantly staying up, studying, constantly doing this, constantly doing that, like not really being able to mentally breathe, to the point where I stressed myself out. And that's actually when I committed my first cut. That's when I did my first cut, because I was so stressed out. I was so done with it, to the point where I skipped class and I missed the test and then dropped my grade from an A to a B. So
that makes perfect sense.
The the added on pressure can do something to you.
That makes perfect sense. Understandable. I'll give you that.
See, I wasn't all bad.
I mean, he was halfway.
Wow.
What? He was halfway. Okay. Well, I think that might be it for this. I think so. I don't know. Is there any other things that we forgot?
Therapy is important.
Yeah. That's the
Don't be
overall.
afraid to go to therapy.
Yep, don't be afraid. Definitely. Make sure you talk to people, even if it's not a therapist. Make sure you exercise your rights as a child. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's very, very important to do that.
And mental health wise, if you guys have like any questions or anything like that too, y'all can always hit me up on IG.
Yeah.
If you have any questions related to mental health, if you have any questions about services or anything like that, or even a hotline, you guys can also let me know.
Definitely. So I think that's it, guys. So thank you guys so much for joining the live. I have another live coming up on Monday about mommy issues because everybody loves to talk about daddy issues, but we don't talk about mommy issues.
Oh, I'm gonna be there for that.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a very long The Mafia Speaks. I believe I'm doing 5 stories instead of the usual 3. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty damn long. So yeah, buckle up. It's gonna be a fun one. I'll see you guys on Monday. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. Everything you need is down in the description box below. And I'm gonna see. Excuse me. Manners, okay? I said excuse me.
You
I'm
did.
gonna see y'all next time. Bye.